And we are live. What's going on, everyone? This is your boy, Billy Rowe. Today is Wednesday. I'd like to welcome you to the first row. And since it is Wednesday, you know what that means. It's time for the Wednesday word. That's Wednesday word. Jumping straight into it. Tonight's topic is matching energy. It could be matching energies, actually, but we're going to go with matching energy. What do I mean? As I always like to start off with what I mean by my topic. What do I mean by the topic of matching energy? So really what matching energy means to me is when you are in normally an argument or a disagreement with someone, you find yourself typically mirroring and matching that person's energy. And sometimes it's okay to do that if the disagreement is civil and if it's a healthy debate. At those times, it's good to match energy. However, we typically see this matching of energies take place when we're in a negative argument or a negative disagreement where you might see somebody yelling or somebody is yelling at you, and instead of trying to keep the tone that you originally came into the conversation with, or that you intended to come into the conversation with, you begin to match their energies. You become confrontational. You become standoffish. You become defensive. And so that's what I mean when I talk about matching energies, as far as looking at the energy that's coming at you, whether it's in debate, whether it's in the financial realm at work, and then matching that energy. Really what it is establishing resonance with a person that you really don't want to establish resonance with, meaning you really don't want to match their energy because it's pulling you out of who you are. So for this topic tonight, I came up with about 4 or 5 different tools that I wanted to share that I thought would help you identify when you're matching energies and how to get out of that. Hey, what's going on, brother Bruce? Appreciate you tuning in. So for the first tool tonight that I want to share with you when it comes to matching energies, the first thing that I came with was, first you have to know your energy. And so what do I mean by knowing your energy is knowing who you want to be going into the situation before you get into the situation. So I talk a lot about taking time to think and reflect and hypothesize on how you're going to handle certain situations before they get there, so that you're not shooting from the hip and kind of making decisions on the fly. You already have a pretty good understanding of how you want to react or act. I don't even like the phrase react, but how you're going to act when a certain situation comes up. Typically, we are reactive when we don't know what energies we want to display, when we don't know who we want to be, when we don't know or haven't taken the time to think about the situation before it gets there. That's when we're more in a reactive, which is kind of a defensive stance. You're off balance, and so you're trying to jerk to get caught back up and be up to speed with who you think you should be in the situation. So the first thing is really being genuine to yourself, having an understanding of who you are. So that way, when you're in a situation where there's somebody who's presenting an opportunity to build resonance with them or to mirror them, you can kind of step away from that and say, well, looking at that mirror, that really doesn't reflect who I am. That really doesn't reflect who I want to be, and be able to take those steps back that you need to take back in order to maintain the person that you want to be. So the very first tool is not really so much about the other person. It's about yourself and understanding who you are, knowing your energy and knowing what energy you want to display. So that way, when you go to display it, you're remaining true and genuine to yourself. Another thing about that really quick is when you don't have a good understanding of your energy, what typically happens is you end up getting caught up in the current, getting caught up in the situation of whatever that person is sending your way. And so you don't have good footing. It's almost like if you've ever stood in a river before, the water can be very shallow and it seems like it's calm. However, once you stand in the river, if you don't have good footing, you will find that water will sweep you off your feet and you'll be stuck going along with the current. That's how matching energy kind of takes place and tricks us when we don't have the surety in our footing that we need to have on who we are and what our energy is and what we want it to be. And then we go into these interactions with people, because as humans, we are flawed. We're not perfect. We go into these interactions, and that current that may have seemed calm, as soon as you get there and you step on the first slippery rock, whether it's a word that they use with you, or something that they bring up that's familiar to you that has a bad connotation with you, whatever it may be, you slip and now you're caught up getting drugged down the current and in an argument or a dispute or a debate that you really don't want to be in. So that's the first tool. The second tool that I came up with was to understand that force creates conflict. And so this happens kind of in two ways. Number one, this can happen from the stance of if you are interacting with somebody and you are trying to get them to match your energy, or you're trying to match their energy, what will happen is it will create a conflict. And that's where the argument typically starts is, well, wait a minute, why do I have to be who you want me to be? Or why do you have to be who they want you to be? So that's the first part, is the first section of that, is understanding that force creates conflict. However, force also creates conflict anytime that you choose to match an energy that is not genuinely yours. So going back to the argument, if I'm in an argument with somebody and I didn't really come with the intentions to yell, and I didn't come with the intentions to name call and sling mud, and then I allow their energy to come at me and decide to meet that energy where it's at, and say, well, yeah, well, why are we talking about mamas, and why are we talking about daddies, and why are we talking about all this other stuff, and try to match them. What happens is after that situation is over, yeah, let's say you won the argument or you had the best bag or whatever it may be, you may have won that section, but when you come back and you take the time to reflect, what's going to happen is you now have to deal with the conflict that you took yourself out of the energy that you wanted to be at, whether higher or lower, and went to this energy level, whether it's lower or higher, to match them. And so you have to deal with now an internal conflict. So anytime that you are matching somebody's energy that you really don't want to match, you're going to either create conflict from that standpoint between the two of you, or you're going to have a secondary conflict that you have to resolve within yourself. So that's the second thing. If you understand that force creates conflict both internally and externally, that will help deter you from matching energy and building resonance with people that you really don't want to build it with. The third tool that I came up with when I was thinking about this particular topic was it's best to be able to allow for differences in energies. So what do I mean by that? Let's use a mountain. So a mountain is something that has been built up. There's differences in energy and pressure in the planet, in the crust. And because of that pressure, whether it's pushing together or there's pressure coming from the bottom, a mountain forms. And what that does is those differences in energies, there's no resistance above besides air pressure, it allows the mountain to form. And when we have these differences in energies, it's actually an okay thing. It's something that we experience in nature. It's something that we experience naturally within ourselves. And what it does is it allows us to build texture. It allows us to build texture and have more complex and more meaningful interactions with people, even when we disagree. And what you'll find is also by being able to allow for different energies, you will find normally if your base is, let's say, lower, let's say you're again in an argument and the person is yelling. This has happened to me where I was the person yelling and the other person wasn't yelling. And after a while, you start thinking like, why am I yelling? Like, I'm the loudest person in this conversation, but it's only the two of us talking. So it can also bring the texture or bring the swing the pendulum in the other direction to where people come down to match your energy. And in that sense, when you're in the right energy space, when you're in the right space, as far as, I don't want to say being right, but necessarily having the right approach, when you have the right approach and people come to match that energy, that's something they can reflect on later. And it's not a conflict. It's something that they can say, man, how can I be better at doing that? How can I be better at keeping my cool under pressure, keeping my cool when I disagree, keeping my cool when it has to do with whatever it may have to do with. So that's the other thing that I came up with, was that you be willing to allow for a difference in energies. And realize that there are some times that things do require a higher energy output. I think if I was on the Wednesday Word and I seemed like I was depressed and down and out, I don't think that it would be something that would be pleasurable, whether I was giving good information or not. I don't think it would be something that would be pleasurable for people to interact with. So realize there's high energy or low energy is not necessarily the problem. It's the appropriate use of the energies that's really becomes the issue when you use it inappropriately. The next tool that I came up with was, oh man, this is something I'm guilty of. I like when I'm kind of like going into my notes and I see things and I'm like, dang, I'm mad I wrote that because that's the truth. But the next tool that I wrote was about the importance of staying out of hyper reciprocation, or reckless reciprocation. And so what that is that's the tit for tat. And you'll see this sometimes in arguments where an argument is really dissipated and it's not really going anywhere. And people are kind of to the point of almost walking away. But then this person says, yeah, that's what I thought. And they're like, yeah, that's what I thought. And it almost like brings the argument back up and refuels the kindle. And then now all of a sudden you got a raging fire again. Staying out of that hyper reciprocation keeps you from wanting to match energies that are really negative energies that you're not interested in matching. And I tell you, I am guilty of this because sometimes when I feel like I am being attacked, and it may not even be like an all-out assault, just a simple attack, I come back with like, okay, I'm gonna send my energy through the roof in order to squash this attack. When really, if I just keep my peace, because really that's what I try to focus on is being at peace and being peaceful and not really letting things get too far under my skin. If I can keep that energy, that is actually more helpful for me. And then after a while, even if somebody was taking the time to attack me verbally, I'm not talking about physical attack. Physical attack, I'm gonna defend myself. But if they were trying to attack me verbally, I would be able to just stay at who I am. Yeah, there's been times where I've had to walk away where it's like, yeah, I'll be whatever you say I am. I'll be a punk. I'll be a coward. I'll be all those things. And I'm going to be that on my way back to my house safely with my kids and my family to take care of them. Because what you're calling me, though it is disruptive and irritating and it agitates me, it's not enough to call me to match that energy. And that's what I mean by keeping that tit for tat out. Yeah, Bruce, I know that tit for tat, man, it'll get you. It'll get you. And you don't even know it's getting you. You just be like, yeah, I got to go in. So the next tool that I came up with, or the last tool that I came up with when I was thinking about the topic of matching energies was redirect rather than block. And so what I mean by this is if we look at energy like a laser is focused energy, focused light, and it's coming towards you. You can either try to stop that laser with your hand, or let's say you have in the Hollywood world, you have a mirror and you can let that mirror deflect that laser off your path. In martial arts and Wing Chun, they have what's called, I believe it's called the center line. And that center line is like the middle of your body. And the purpose of the foundation of Wing Chun is keeping people off of your center line. So when somebody punches at you, instead of blocking it with force and absorbing that shock or absorbing that impact, you just simply get it off your center line just enough to where it goes by. You're not trying to dodge way over here or dodge way over there. You're simply trying to get it off the center line and getting your body out of harm's way. And what you find when you're able to redirect or defer or deflect that energy, what you'll find is that you expend less energy. And so when somebody comes at you with a hostile intent, I don't mean like physically hostile, please don't take this under the wrong circumstances, but with a hostile intent or a very aggressive nature, it's not about you blocking them and saying, yeah, I stopped you and I stood there. It's about you deflecting that energy and let that go wherever it wants to go, but don't accept things that aren't for you. So really quickly, just to go over these tools. One other thing about deflecting. It works in both ways because it's not always a hostile intent that you try to match those energies. Sometimes I've actually had experiences where somebody may call me and they're like depressed and they're on that woe is me campaign, and I immediately start matching that energy. Even I might have had the best day ever, but now I'm over here trying to match the depression that they have because I feel guilty about being overly excited for my day and the good day that I had. And so it's not just in dealing with negativity from the sense of argumentation or arguing. It's also from the sense of other areas. So what I've had to learn is really being cautious and aware of who I am being the vent friend to. And what you'll find is whatever energy you pour in keeps that vent going. So if you're the friend who people can call and they know that you'll not only listen to their story, you'll also empathize and sympathize and validate and be their cheerleader for being a victim, then your phone's going to ring every time they need to be a victim, because you're going to make them feel better by coming to their negative energy and building that resonance. Whereas if you're the friend who people know, hey, you can call me if you have an issue, but we're only going to talk about the solutions, Now your phone only rings when people really want to work through their situation and get to a better space. And so I'm good with being the vent friend, but I'm the vent friend with you. We're going to have to come up with a solution, because I don't want you to just vent about these things. And then next week you're venting to me about the same things. And then next week it's the same thing. I want us to talk about something with a purpose of solving the issue, with a purpose of solving the problem. And so having that level of, instead of matching that depression or matching that woe is me, I'm saying, hey, look, I see where you're at. I empathize where you're at, but this is the energy that I'm at. And this is solution based. So you can come on up here and we can solve this solution. We can solve this issue with the solution energy versus rolling around in the issue with the victim mentality issue. So that was another thing that I wanted to share. So really quick, the 5 tools that I gave you for this evening were: know your energy, understand that force creates conflict, allow differences in energies, stay out of hyper/reckless reciprocation or tit for tat. And then lastly, redirect rather than block. Now, always with the Wednesday word, I like to share a personal story of my own that kind of got me thinking about the topic, that kind of helped me build the tools and the things that I used to kind of get out of, whether it was successfully get out of or I wish I would have used to get out of the situation. So tonight, the story that kind of really resonated with me for this particular topic of matching energies was actually something that happened, what is it, 2018? So about 12 years ago, 12 or 13, no, 10 to 12 years ago. And so this was, if you know this time frame and you were working, this is the time when we went through the housing recession, where the market just fell out and everybody like lost jobs and people were losing homes and a lot of things happened. And during this time, right before this time, we were in a very trend mentality, like not only just like back in the day when, you know, there was the trendy dance and the trendy fashion. No, we were at the point where we were trending things in finances, and we were all trending to buy homes that were like $500,000, even though we couldn't all afford homes that were $500,000. And this is what I mean by matching energies is not just always a negative thing. It may be something that feels good in the moment. And so for me, I remember our family, I was working as a recruiter for a recruiting agency or a tech agency. And I remember looking at buying a home. And when we were looking at buying a home, the home was going to have like a mortgage of like I think it was like $2,200 or $2,300 and that a month. And at the time it was like, okay, we'd have to move some things around, but we could afford that. Well, then the housing market fell out. I ended up losing my job as a recruiter, which means I couldn't afford the house that we would have been in. And I went without working from February till November. So I lost a lot of income. I was trying to think about matching energies. And a lot of people, when I say matching energy in this term, we think about the terms of keeping up with the Joneses. Oh, well, the Joneses got a new car. The Joneses got a new house. The Joneses got a new yacht. Yeah, I'm going to do everything that the Joneses have. And now you're in the same situation that a lot of people who followed the trend and decided to match the energy of others, whether it was financial energy and that I have everything that I need, or living the best life energy, you tried to match something that was really not where you were at. And had you have taken time to really resonate and think and process within the energy that's your true, genuine self, you would have made a different decision. Now, fortunately, in this situation, I really got to thinking about $2,300 a month as a mortgage. And I was like, you know, I don't really feel good about the next 30 years to do that, have that commitment and hope everything just kind of works out. I mean, I could bounce back on some things like losing a job and making enough money to make things happen, but $2,300 a month guaranteed expenses, I don't know if I can handle that. And so we made the decision not to get the house. And within like a year, the housing market crashed. Everybody's interest rates went crazy. Everybody's variable rates, oh, don't worry, it's variable, you can refinance at any time, went crazy. Houses were upside down, just like, I don't know if you know what that means, but houses were basically, they were valued at one point when you bought it. Now it's less than the point that you bought it, and you still owe a loan that's higher than the amount that it's valued at now. So all those things took place because People were so busy getting caught up in the trend and matching the energies. And yeah, you know, I'll just say I make $1 million. They don't check how much you make anyway. And people were getting into houses and situations that they had no business being into in the first place. And that was our experience. Fortunately for us, we didn't put ourselves in a situation where our house was purchased at that time. We actually didn't buy our house. So that was 2007, 2008. We didn't buy our house until about 6 or 7 years later. And so when we bought our house, it was like, okay, now it's something that we can afford. We have established careers, very steady income. Even if this income stops, we have a different marketing skill set that we can market to get jobs that are at or above the compensation that we're currently earning. Things started to make sense, and that's when we bought our house. And so just to kind of go over, it's not that, oh, well, look at the good decision that we made, but it's really about stepping back and looking at why you're making the decisions you're making and why you're acting the way you're acting. And if you can't say you're acting the way you're acting a certain way, and you're saying, well, I'm reacting, well, reacting is a failure to plan. When you react to something, it means you did not adequately plan for the situation to come, which is going to happen in life. We're all human. We can't plan for everything. However, you want to be in the best position possible to make sure that when you're making decisions and you're making choices, and especially when it comes to matching energy, that you are acting and not reacting. So I thank you guys for joining in tonight. I don't know who's all on. I know Brother Bruce is on, but I don't know who else is on. Chime in the chat, say hello. I appreciate you guys watching live. But I just really want you to think about this concept and look at the areas of your life where you are attempting to match your energy to other people's energies or other people's situations that really don't apply to you currently, and try to resolve that conflict and find out what it is that you really want, that you really want to seek, that you really want to achieve, and go after those things. Other than that, I do want to share with you that next week, we actually have quite a bit of activity, live activity on the first row. There will be 2 intercessions and 1 Wednesday word. The intercessions will be both on Tuesday. One will be at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That will be My Brother's Keeper with Moses Jenkins, one of the crowd favorites. He's here every month. Check that out. You're going to have a good time. And then the second one will be immediately following. The scheduled time is going to be for 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that will be on opposite sex friendships, and that will be with a very good friend of mine, Jennifer Chambers. So I hope that you guys are able to attend those live events. Again, they're open conversations. Get in there, contribute to the conversation, ask questions, be a part. This channel is interactive. Interact with us. Other than that, I thank you guys for sitting on the first row today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you like this video, share it. If you share it, like it. If you have not done so already, please click the subscribe button, and there's a little bell. Click the bell so that way you'll be notified when the first row is on live, whether it's the Wednesday word or any of our other content that we have here on the channel. Other than that, I thank you guys for watching. Until the next time, I'll see you on the first row in a couple of days. One love, peace, and God bless.